Jim Baumstark.
James Dolan.
All right, welcome back. We are going to move to our approval section. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second, Baumstark.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Motion carries. Now we'll ask for a motion and a second to approve the regular and executive session minutes.
So moved. Dolan.
Seconded, Corbin.
All right. Katie, may I have a roll call?
Baumstark.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Heggie. Jack Torowitz. Corman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye.
Motion carries. Now we come to our communications section. Dr. Daly?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We have several guests with us this evening, students and staff who will be presenting for you at different points during our agenda. And for starters here, we have some representatives from ATIA and Springman. Brian, do you have a little?
We were just going to do a quick introduction that this is, again, representatives from our middle schools. They're representing our modern media class, if you guys remember as board members and community. A couple years ago, last year to be exact, we started the process where we have modern media and STEM classes throughout our district. Middle schools provide opportunities for our kids that we hadn't provided directly in the past. We had done kind of spot check them in different classes, ELA and stuff, but now providing opportunities for some direct instruction around specific topics that are relevant to the current structures we have in today's society. So I'm going to let the wonderful teachers and students that we have here introduce themselves and then talk a little bit about what they've been doing. I will click away whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. I'm Chrissy Harold, the Instructional Innovation Specialist at ATIA, and our students here are Stav Mijos and Jacob Weissman.
And I'm Dina Gramis. I'm the media teacher at ATIA.
I'm Megan Hoffman-Junk, and I'm the media teacher at Springman.
In modern media, the two focuses of the class are student voice and choice, and then real-world skills. Do I need to use this? Okay. Okay. So when we, it is a little bit.
It's because we're broadcasting.
Thank you. Okay, so when we talk about student voice and choice, we're talking about skills where students feel valued and heard. Student voice is giving students an outlet to make their own choices, to guide the instruction in the class, and in modern media, this is seen every single day, and our students will talk more about that later on. And then student choice is simply just giving students choice. In education, we look at 3 different domains for choice. There's the environment, so both teachers have the new learning spaces. Ms. Gramis was part of the pilot, so at ATIA, she's using the new furniture. When we talk about social domain, students every day are choosing the groups they want to work in, the number of students they want to work with, and then the 3rd domain would be the learning domain of choice. So students get to choose project topics, they get to choose the apps and tools that they use. So choice and voice are seen all throughout the modern media curriculum and the instruction. And then of course, a cornerstone of the class is the real world skills. Students collaborate, they choose topics that center around problem solving. Time management is a huge piece for our middle school students in their daily lives, but also in modern media. They're often given long due dates for projects, so they have to chunk the projects and decide when things will be due for them. And then we have a wide array of digital tools. So students can use different apps, lots of technical tools, different software, and again, that feeds into that choice piece. They get to learn as much as they want to learn, extend their learning as much as they want.
So I'm basically reading the slide up here, but it is about analyzing. We start off with some analysis of what we're going to be creating. Then they produce, and then we go back and we analyze again, for them to get their communication out, whatever form it is. And so again, as this says, students analyze how media informs and persuades, and they communicate with a purpose, and they produce their own modern media. And these are our essential questions Again, what is media and how is it used and how do I level up my production? And the extension course is one way for them to expand on their learning, especially when it comes to the tools, the digital tools that we have available to them. You know, we start with just the iPad. Everything can be done at level 1. And then after that, it's up to the students, along with our guidance, to push themselves as well as like whatever it is that they want to learn as far as the digital tools go, but also whatever they want to communicate and whatever voice they want to get out.
All right, so we use a lot of different tools in the modern media class. Primarily, we focus on using the iPads, and so we'll utilize Apple native apps like iMovie, GarageBand, Notability we use a lot, and we'll utilize other design apps that are available as well. And recording apps too. Voice memos is really popular because they can easily conduct like interviews and voice recordings, and then it works well with iMovie and GarageBand when they want to edit things together. We have multiple different kinds of mics that we've been testing out this school year to see which is most effective, which has good battery life, which is most compatible with the iPad, and what produces the best sound as well. So that has been a very interesting experience, and the students are great at testing out the durability of our microphones and making sure that they can pick up interviews even in a crowded 6th grade hallway. So they've done excellent work. We've also been utilizing the recording studio at both schools, which has been great. It's a highlight for most of the students. They really want to use the booth. We introduce it to them and introduce them to the booth in 6th grade with one of our audio projects, and they just want to continue to use it. We also use and utilize GoPro cams, tripods, the green screen. We're looking to utilize like better lighting as well to enhance some of their video projects, so we're going to be testing that out this trimester. And the other thing that we use is our analysis tool, which is Raft. And so what we focus on is role. What is their role as the creator of the media, and what's their motivation? Who's their target audience, and how is it going to connect to them? What's the format that they're communicating in, and is it effective? And then what's the big idea? What's the topic?
When it comes to our projects, so this year, again, we're building. So last year was pretty much the introductory course. Those are pretty much the projects that are listed there towards the bottom. So they created a PSA poster in the 6th grade level, audio review, and then a how-to video. Then this year, the 7th and 8th grade curriculum, we added the we started with the All About Me playlist, and then we added the long form podcast. So they spend a really good chunk of time creating these podcasts, which we'll share a little bit more information as we progress through this presentation. And then in the extension class, we are creating a short film, and they are going to be creating also a movie poster that goes along with the short film.
The class is continuing to grow over time. We're very excited about our partnership with GBS. Tomorrow, actually, we'll be taking the first ever modern media field trip. So we're taking a selected group of students who have a high level interest in media and broadcasting over to GBS, and they'll be shown the broadcasting studio and the media studio, and we're very excited about it and looking to expand this next year to multiple field trips throughout the year. The enrichment class, which is going on right now, we're continuing to build and refine the curriculum, figuring out ways how we can extend students' learning and getting a lot of input from students about what they'd like to see in the class and how they can take their learning to the next level. We're looking to incorporate broadcasting into not only the class in bits and pieces, but also as a club at both middle schools. We'd like to do some live streaming, go to sporting events, have students do live calling. We think that's a way for students to refine those not only broadcasting skills, but also bring in some of their interests and things that they like to do at school. And then also we're looking to create some student tips and tricks digital resources. So every day students come up with better and quicker ways to do things on apps and with different software more than us adults know. And so we're always like, oh, we should write that down somewhere. We should write that down somewhere. So we're looking to create a digital resource to keep those all in one place where it's all student generated, all student created, but they're teaching each other, and when they need some sort of hack or troubleshooting tip, we can point them to this digital resource. So those are things that are up and coming. So now it's time for our All-Star students to shine here. We've asked them some questions and they've prepped a little bit. Some answers will be on the fly, but we wanted to know some more from them about what they feel like are important life skills. They're going to talk a little bit about their favorite projects, and then a little bit more about that voice and choice and how they see that coming through in the class. So we'll turn the mics over to them.
Sure. So I feel that an important life skill that that I've learned in modern media is like the whole like idea of like kind of like coming up with an idea to editing and producing and being finished. Like I was thinking about how like in 6th grade last year, kind of with like the intro course, we would like do like we'd do like a work, and every 2 days we'd have to check in with Miss Grammis, or the modern media teacher. And then eventually, like in 7th grade it became more like independent, and it was up to you. So I feel like one of the important life skills that came out of this class is like keeping up with making like your own deadlines, because it's like, well, we have a month to create this project, and it really did take a month. Like there was a lot of editing, producing, working together, writing the script, all of that stuff. And I feel like for me, the most important life skill, it's probably like making up your own deadlines and things like that.
I think an important life skill for it is to just like see this opportunity that tech can bring to you, especially in broadcasting. I personally see it as a chance to take a deeper dive in technology, especially the technology we have in TIA, such as the GoPros, but I definitely do see it as a chance to see broadcasting, video, like the PSA posters, etc. Really just more of like this chance to get a deeper dive, you know?
So the favorite project that I did was actually in 7th grade when I had modern media class in trimester 2. So my group actually created a long form podcast. So we got to choose the group members, and then all we were told was to create a long form podcast, 20 minutes, have some few like editing features, but then it was basically up to us to come up with an idea, write the script, record it in the podcast booth if we chose, and then edit, and then eventually produce. And then the cool thing was we got to put it on like a website for our peers and parents to look at. So I feel like that was really cool. And like I also think that it was really cool that we got to like do the editing, like with the software. You could have used the iPads, but that's like what they call level 1. I'm a bit more advanced, so I actually got to use like the iMacs and the LRC, and I feel like that was really cool to be able to use those.
I really enjoy doing the audio projects too, but I really enjoy doing the video creating because I had this chance to see like if I could put my own ideas into this one concept of like this like few minute video. I did this back in 6th grade, but I'm just saying as like this big part really where I got to use all this like software and stuff, and I got to use something called Canva, which I think you guys should definitely look into more as an example. But yeah, but I'm just saying. You are? I was just saying as like this chance to see like more editing you can do and like the ideas you can put into one concept.
And then how do you see your voice in the class, and how do you see yourself given choice?
So I feel like kind of what I was saying, where we're just like given the topic, and then we come up with the idea, and then we'll present them to Miss Grammis, and she'll let us like run with the idea, and sometimes she'll like sort of support us if it's necessary, but generally like I don't think ideas really get rejected, but like they get like brought on and continued on, and like thinking how could you use this in like a good way, and how could you make something out of this, and I feel like also we really have a choice with things like what kind of media we want. Like if we want to use like a plug-in mic from the LRC, if we wanted to use the podcast booth. So how professional we want to make our media, I feel like that's what's up to us with like the opportunities. If we're filming, do we want to use our iPads or the GoPros, or do we want to use the 360 camera? So I feel like those are like the opportunities that we have in this class.
How I see voice and opportunity for choices in this class is that I just feel like it's just more of this like chance to see like what do I like and what like don't I really like, and like what I can do to cooperate with other people and friends and make new ones here in this class. And that's the great thing, like it's not just like where like you're just bringing out your voice, you can also bring your voice out to other people and potentially make new friends, get new chances, and just see what it's like really, especially with like just like tech in general.
These are some of the Springman 7th grade students, and they answered most of the same questions.
I'm Abby and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Addison and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Kate and I'm in 7th grade.
All right, so what is an important life skill that you guys feel you have learned in modern media over the last 2 years?
I've learned how to use tech and like different apps and how to use them.
I've learned to work better with my friends. I've learned to be creative.
Awesome. Can you guys describe your favorite project that you've worked on in modern media and why you liked it?
Mine was probably the podcast last year, because you got to go in the podcast room and talk with your friends and learn how to do it by yourself.
Mine was probably the All About Me playlist, because I can learn more about my friends like through like the songs they choose.
Mine was probably the podcast, because it was really fun to like be able to make a podcast with your friends.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
And just the remaining slides are projects. So this is the Modern Media Podcast. There's a link to the podcast website. You do have to have a D34 email to access. But you'll find all the different categories that we kind of had in general. So there's a lot of student voice there. They range from all kinds of, links too. So the goal was a long one, but.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an example of some 6th grade projects. They were asked to make a public service announcement poster. They were able to choose the topic. They were able to choose the app or combinations of apps that they wanted to use on their iPads. This was when we still had sketches last trimester. So we'll see what we come up with this trimester. But what they did was they would just talk about like what they cared about, what they felt was important, and then they would have a few class periods to work on a rough draft. I would check in with them, and then they would fly and work on the final drafts. And then these are some examples of current 7th grade and maybe 8th grade as well. Student work. These are their production company logos for their short films that they're making for the enrichment class. So just like with any film, you have to have a production company logo to go with it. So this was their first project for this enrichment class. They each individually in their group had to come up with a design. They voted on their favorite design in the group, and then they refined it. And then this is a really excellent video from one of our 7th graders. So that was the intro that some of our 7th graders made for their movie that they are still in the middle of producing this trimester. And they actually made that with Adobe. and with drone. And then this video right here is from our 7th grade last trimester, and it is an example of a how-to video.
How to drink water. But first, we must know how not to drink water. People, stop drinking your water like a dog. Ow!
Hopefully Roman can do it.
Oh, God. People, to drink water, you must follow these steps. First, open the water bottle. Then, put your mouth on the water bottle, but not fully on it. Then, tip the water bottle back. Then, swallow the water. Oh, yeah! How to drink water.
And then anyone else can watch the following projects at their leisure. This is one of our 7th grade podcast projects. It's about 15 to 17 minutes long, and their focus was on lunchtime at school.
I was wondering if I can add something about that video we watched. That's why we're kind of talking about in modern media, about how we can bring out like any sort of concept, really, like something comedic such as how to drink water. I guess we can kind of just like bring that out, like any idea. Like it could be the most weirdest but obviously school appropriate thing that could show any idea of like how to drink water. What was the question? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. What I'm really most proud of is the podcast, projects that I've been working on, especially with my group and even outside of this class, I would say, like outside, like podcast, like projects, definitely, yeah. Can I talk about something that like outside of modern media, such as like podcast club, or, yeah. I'm really proud of I'm in a podcast called Misadventures in the Middle, and I used Podcast Club as something to do for fun, and I kind of like learned a bit more. Like I like taught myself how to use like iMovie and like GarageBand in order to like edit, and I felt really proud of myself because I was able to completely like edit just by myself doing this whole thing, really.
And for me also, I really like doing the podcast, the long form podcast project, where it was fun to write the script and all that and record. But I feel like what I really liked about that was the editing, where I got to like add in music, and I feel like I feel like things like editing, how you edit it can change the entire meaning of like how something is conceived. And I feel like without editing, it looks very unprofessional. But then like with the editing devices that we have, we can make very high level professional, high quality media.
Thanks.
May I?
Go ahead.
So all 5 of you, great presentation for our 2 students. I can't wait to see you on this side of the table because I think you're going to be better at this job than I am. So great job. And by far, this is my most favorite part of school boarding, is hearing from teachers and students. So well done on that. A quick question for the instructors, teachers. Does every eighth grade student go through this at one point or another? Or sorry, every student go through this, and what's the cadence?
Yes, so well, I would say the only students that might not participate are kids with interventions. But yes, so all the students in sixth grade, all the students have an opportunity and go through all the encore classes. By sixth grade, trimester 3, we kind of switch a little bit where band and orchestra is now part of the encore classes, and then that's why we have the enrichment class. And then in 7th grade, again, everybody has that opportunity to go through the courses of all the encore courses, and same with like 8th grade. And then enrichment, again, because of band and orchestra, that is their enrichment, and then everybody else can choose.
So I thought it was great. You touched on all the things that I've been thinking about. Drones, I love that you incorporated that. I love that you're going to GBS. I think that's so important. I've been talking about that since I've been on the school board, is that connection between the two school districts and the buildings in particular. But one thing that I would like to add is it'd be great if, so I know they're on a Chrome platform versus us on the iPad platform. So giving our students a heads up of, I don't know whether Notability works on Chrome, but whatever that linkage is between not just the media portion, but what that transition looks like going from 8th grade technology to 9th grade technology, and how you could use that time to help kind of bridge that gap. And I'm saying that for all classes, all topics, but it just is very timely that you're here today. So thank you, great job, really excited for this program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything? I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys make. This should be exciting.
Well, we're having big movie premieres at the end of the trimester,
Yeah,
so we'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
This should be good. Popcorn included?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
If you're
long-
you're bringing it, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing it.
Thank you for extending your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, this brings us to audience comments. Kathy, do we have any? Well, this is the first opportunity for audience comments in this meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to the Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. The director will call community members who submit cards forward. They will be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship with the district. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And please know that the board will be taking notes, but we will be in listening mode only, and an appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. We also ask that you submit only one comment per opportunity. Kathy?
Good news, it has to be quick. I have to be across town in about 5 minutes. So I'm Mary Coe. I have 2 kids at Hoffman, 3rd and 4th grade, and I have a 4-year-old that will be in Henking in 2 years. But I also live right next to Hoffman, and so that brings me to my first comment. So I just was wondering if there's anything formal or in writing about the relationship with the park district and maintaining the grounds and the school district. And while I know this is a very minor issue, the park district, it tends to take like anywhere between 5 to 15 emails and CCing a various number of people just to be like, hey, these trees are still dead 5 years later. They haven't had a leaf for the 7 years I've lived here. Maybe we should cut them down, kind of thing. And I just didn't know what the expectations are. And they were awesome. Last summer, they cut down 3 trees at Henking and a couple trees at Hoffman. But again, it took, a long time. And if there's anything in writing that says, like, the expectation of the park district is to cut down dead things or pull dead bushes, just curious, because it seems like it's a community, poking. And then also, Hoffman has this beautiful courtyard that's been unusable for sure for 4 years. My understanding is much longer than that. I don't personally know more than 4 years. But they were super great after a bunch of emails again. They got the big plastic swimming pool, a bunch of garbage, the fallen down tree limbs, all out. And I know there's some supposed plan, again, after a lot of emails, because we have this huge, beautiful courtyard in Hoffman that's completely unusable. And it's such a bummer because we've done all this new construction and we've been building all these beautiful grounds, and there's a new, beautiful courtyard in Henking. But fast forward in a couple of years, I'm concerned it's going to look like Hoffman's and be unusable. So I'm just curious if there's, a protocol or a system in place, or how you contact, or is the way to do it just a bunch of emails and CC Scott Nelson? I don't know, I don't know how to do it, but if there's anything in writing of the expectations of the park district, district, that would be super helpful. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but I think it matters a little bit. And then the only other part is mulch. Like, plants don't live without mulch pretty much. And so when you call the park district, they say they only provide mulch for the playgrounds, which is totally fine, but 10 feet away from there is a butterfly garden, and so I still haven't gotten a response for that, and so all those plants should probably just turn into grass seed, and we should probably rip it out if they're not gonna help us do mulch. Or I can drive my minivan over there and load it up as long as I have permission to drive across the school property, but that seems a little bit bizarre. Anyway, my point is, I do think that how the school appears, basics like no dead trees, usable courtyards is basic stuff, and I just wanna know how we go about it as a community to making it happen properly, because I just feel super annoying all the time. And then I think that's all for the grounds. And then for the other part I had emailed before, so I have one of my kiddos is in the gifted program, and I just, I hate that she calls herself gifted. I think it's I've emailed you guys about it. I just think it's so, she just works hard, and she just has a little bit of a genetic gift that she can focus really well, and she's really teachable. I don't ever want her to think she doesn't have to work hard. I don't think it was a gift given to her. I also don't, if she doesn't get in middle school, I don't want the district to tell her she's not gifted anymore. I think she's probably gonna have to go through all of college to be successful. I don't think she's Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. I think she just works hard. We spent a lot of time rebranding the mascots, and I just a minute, let's just ditch that phrasing and not have the third graders walk around saying they're super gifted, because most of them aren't. I don't know. It just sounds off-putting when you hear like an 8-year-old say they're super special. And I know all of the North Shore moms think their parents are special, but they're probably not. They're probably just average. But I really have to get across town, so.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thank
All
you
right,
so much.
And we'll get an answer to it for you. Thanks. Any other comments? Okay. We'll move along to our consideration of resolutions. It's a consent agenda. I have the 23024 personnel report, the 23025 payroll warrants, 23026 vendor warrants, the 23027 transportation contract extension Safeway, the 23028 transportation contract extension Alltown, and the 23029 Wesley contract extension. I just want to point out the Wesley contract extension that we talked about last time is now 2 years. Is that correct, Dr. Daly?
I'm sorry, I've got to
That's fine.
pull it up. I thought it was 3 years.
Is it still 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right, thanks. Can I have a motion and a second for approval?
So moved, Mike Corman.
Katie, may I have a roll call?
Dolan.
Aye.
Heggie. Jack Torowitz. Corman. Nelson.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
And Baumstark.
Aye.
All right, the resolutions have passed. Now we have the consideration of other resolutions. The 23028 support staff reduction in force, part-time. Is there any questions about that? Any comments?
To extend our thank you.
Yes, definitely. So I'd like to ask for a motion and second to accept the resolution for dismissal of part-time education support personnel.
So moved, Peggy.
Second, Baumstark.
The board would like to thank the staff member listed for her service to the students of District 34. Katie, can we have a roll call vote?
Heggie. Jack Torowitz. Corman. Nelson.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now we come to our really great presentation by Dr. Silverman, I believe, the district literacy update.
Thank you so much. I'm going to call my crew up here. Come on up, have a seat. Before we begin, I just want to tell you all how much I love my team. They're amazing. They're awesome educators, awesome coaches. You're going to sense that tonight. And I'm just so thrilled and pleased to be able to work with them every day and bring what we're going to share tonight with you all. So it's just wonderful and amazing for our children and our teachers, and really that's what we're about. And let's jump in. So, as we always do, alignment with our strategic plan. This really is comprehensive. Actually, our entire strategic plan aligns with what we're going to share with you tonight. Specifically, though, we do constantly touch upon the notion of our student success. And in this case, of course, we're talking about literacy, but it is a central component. And our children actually in K-5 and really across our whole system spend the most amount of time in literacy, interacting with literacy instruction, reading, writing, phonemic awareness, phonics, all the great stuff that literacy encompasses. So it's just a massive part of the plan and of this particular goal. And then you're also going to see a lot tonight, the educational and educator commitment and time, years of diving into this to the deepest level we can to ensure that our children are experiencing the best possible instructional model, interaction with high quality materials, reading, really gaining a sense of love and passion. And it really is encapsulated, as we've talked actually quite a bit about the educator growth and support. So a constant living and breathing commitment to our strategic plan. And I'm going to turn it over to, I think Adrian here is going to get us started, or sorry, Carlissa, you're going to get us started off. And if you want to introduce yourself as we
sat in order
We sat in order.
Oh, beautiful, all right. Look at that, coordinated.
They're that good.
See?
They're helping
See,
them out.
that's
There's a
right.
full order right here.
So my name is Carlissa Pecora. I am the Pleasant Ridge Literacy Coach. Thanks for having us here. So when we talk about literacy with a vision statement, that's really where we want to go. And the mission statement is really focusing on how we think we're going to go about going there. And so when you think about what we want from our students, some really key indicators of that is when you see strong reading and writing, you see that identity in our students. You also consider like they're independent in that reading and writing. There's a lot of voice. We heard a great deal about choice and voice with our media presentation that came in advance of us. And that's something we want in our youngest kiddos as we're, again, looking at reading and writing. There's that excitement and enthusiasm, that ability to take a risk as a reader and writer and try new things, as well as that desire to grow and be as independent as possible.
I'm Adrian Hoffer. I am the literacy coach over at Lions School. And when we think about change, this was a complex change. We are talking about roughly 200 classroom teachers, EL and resource in K-5 that we are shifting practices and the structures in which we are working with students. And then you add in our administrators who are also on this journey with us. And now we're going into middle school also. So when we talk about change, it has been very complex. But if you look along the top of this, all along the way, our team constantly checking in on our vision. The skills, are we helping our colleagues to have the skills in order for this change to happen? Incentives, not necessarily external incentives, but more people wanted intrinsically for this to happen because they felt the excitement of it. They knew that they were working with colleagues and they could observe others along the way and go to professional learning in and outside of the district, making sure that we had the resources to make this happen. So not only do we have teacher curricular resources, but we have classroom libraries, brand new classroom libraries across the district. We have decodable readers across the district. We also had our action plan, which Carlissa showed, but we also have a way more broken down one because this was a 5-year plan that we had to roll out. And we knew that any of those things could happen on the left-hand side under change if we didn't keep checking in to make sure that we had all the things along the top along the way. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people around us, because in each of our schools, not only did we have to make sure we were on the same page, we had to go back to our own buildings and support this change happening. So if you look at the left-hand side, you've seen this before when we have come to board meetings, but this is our intentional literacy framework, and you can see this as the mode in which we are teaching. And the colors do matter. The darker the color, the more heavily scaffolded it is the teaching that's happening. And then as you move down to the lighter colors, it's really where we're looking for students to take on ownership and independence to work on what we've been teaching with support from their teachers. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a research-based model called the active view of reading. And this stems from all, back in 1986, if you've heard of the simple view of reading, which highlighted that we needed word recognition and language comprehension to become a skilled reader. And then in 2001, Dr. Scarborough took that even further and broke out word recognition and language comprehension components and what that actually means to become a skilled reader. And then in 2021, which is what you're seeing up here, it's expanded even further based on 3 large advances that we know that readers need in order to be skilled readers, and that was by Nell Duke and Kelly Cartwright. And you'll see word recognition and language comprehension in the blue and the red, but the advances are that we know that reading difficulties come within these and they also come outside of these, and that's where you'll see that bridging processes coming in to bridge word recognition and language comprehension. And then you'll also see in the green that a huge indicator of becoming a skilled reader is active self-regulation, which comes in the form of motivation, engagement, and then our executive functioning skills. We need to make sure we're asking those questions about our students so that they can actually get to the content that comes up more in the middle here. To give you an example of how these work together, for example, if you were working on fluency and maybe phrasing, that might happen in the shared reading mode because you're looking at a text together over a day's time and you're reading it together. If we're looking at theory of mind down in the red, that gets more at understanding others' point of view. So we might be teaching strategies for inferring how characters feel through an interactive read aloud. And that happens all the way down in kindergarten, that we're asking how kindergartners are feeling. I know theory of mind sounds like it's something that we would only expose our older students to, but it's happening all the way down in kindergarten looking at a picture book. We might have how 2 vowels make 1 sound in our phonics features, and that's happening over in word work in phonics. So really on the right side is making sure that we are touching on all these different constructs within our modes, and also knowing that all those constructs are backed by separate bodies of research so that we can check ourselves to make sure that we're really supporting our readers.
Thank you for having us. My name is Mandy Freer, and I am a literacy coach at Westbrook. And I also think it's worth noting that I actually began this 5-year journey with this literacy plan as a classroom teacher, and have moved into the role as a literacy coach. So we have been on this journey for a long time. It's been 5 years through COVID. And we really started with writing, and we worked on the structure of workshop, which is really transferable to all subjects, and focusing on components, which you'll hear more about next, but focusing on things on how the mini lesson can be explicit and reach all students, and how it can be applied in independent work. We also supported that in reading workshop, and then most recently in phonics workshop within K2 specifically, but really K5 across the district. Our next sort of big steps are continuing to make sure that we support all of our teachers that have been on this journey with us all along as they continue to grow in their practice and differentiation, and really to make sure that we are keeping new educators apprised of all of the work we've done along the way. We've been working with HR to make sure that we have a system in place to bring those new educators up to speed and making sure that they are well supported along the way. In the K2 world, we are living in some revisions and things that are changing within our resource. So we are working on supporting teachers in that new learning and implementing those new revisions in their classrooms in the coming years.
Thanks, Mandy. My name is Aaron Wilkins. I work in a number of curricular areas, and I'm here tonight to talk about our middle school ELA work. We've spoken to you before about the development that we've been going through. There are the years up there that we've been thinking about this. You know, we really began when K5 was thinking about the workshop model. We had at the same time a middle school schedule change, and that presented an opportunity to us to be thinking about our curriculum as well. In the process of working and thinking about that curriculum, a lot of the decisions that we were making as we looked at resources had to do with what it would be that we would adopt as an actual curriculum, but all along what we agreed on was a workshop model. Thank your children's teachers on a daily basis. Working with our kids is frequently what they express to be the favorite part of their job. And working on really tough curricular changes like this is really, really tough. And they are up to the task. They work very hard on it. They feel very passionately about the work that we're doing. And actually, a teacher said to me today, if I didn't love what I thought we were trying to do so much, I wouldn't critique it as much as we do. And that's what I say to my students as well. So we are now in a position where what we've done to align a K-8 curriculum is we've adopted a portion of a resource. We've adopted the resource called the Learning Pathways, which comes from the units of study that we're using in K-5. And what that does at the 6th through 8th level is it provides us with rubrics, it provides us with a progression of learning and a basis upon which to create the curriculum that we're doing with our teachers. That brings us up to now, and in the fall we are, in next steps here, you see that we are ready to begin implementing a writing curriculum. As Mandy was talking about a moment ago, that's the same way that we are progressing with our middle school. We're beginning with writing, and then we'll move on to reading. I also want to take the opportunity to think about and remind everybody that once we get to middle school, our students are not with their same teacher all day long. So literacy becomes spread out across their day. And one of the ways that we're doing this, particularly this year, and it happens everywhere, but we're thinking a lot about science and social studies. A lot of the really tough reading and responding through writing to reading comes from science and social studies, on tests. That's the tough content, right? And one of the ways that we're working with our teachers is through a really fantastic new resource called Elevation. It's strategies for language learners. It builds on SIOP work that we had done in the past. We're also utilizing this framework of the active view of reading. Just recently, our social studies teachers began planning, and in terms of literacy, not only are they using Elevation, but we've implemented new writing prompts, much like they would get in the writing curriculum. And so once per trimester, per grade level, students in social studies, they're already writing, but now they'll be writing in a way that is like they would be doing in their writing class, which if you've ever been a middle school teacher, you would be saying as well, whatever I teach them here, they don't transfer over to this other classroom. So we're helping that direct transfer. And actually, they'll be utilizing the rubrics from our ELA courses for that, or portions of them. So, so the work in middle school continues, and as we talk about literacy, we're pushing it out into all content areas.
It's so nice to see you all tonight. I'm Barry Shinsky. I just feel like I just saw you a few weeks ago for our last one. I am the literacy coach over at Hanking. And there's no better way to help you best understand the process we've been through with literacy, to help you best understand our vision, our mission, all of those really special, important pieces that we have lived over the last many years, than to show it to you in action. So enjoy our journey.
In 2018, with the support of a Glenview Education Foundation grant, we embarked on our literacy implementation plan to bring consistency in structures, content, assessments, and resources across the district. Our professional learning focus plan has allowed for all educators to learn, observe, collaborate, implement, and reflect together. A workshop structure allows for explicit instruction followed by ample time to read and write, choice to write and read about topics that personally matter to our children, and supports natural differentiation where students work towards personalized goals with frequent feedback. Looking back over the last 5 years, we can say with confidence that we have strengthened our core literacy instructional practices for all students through consistency, inclusion, and high-impact, research-based teaching and learning. If you visit classrooms across the district, you will see all students and staff engaging, growing, and thriving in an intentional literacy learning model. District 34 is a flourishing, inclusive learning community where all learners are empowered to aspire, explore, discover, and connect.
The best part has been those small bites of PD where you've been able to work together with your team and get what you need right at that moment before you
have the opportunity to collaborate with teachers across the district by having the space to share our experiences and to plan together leads to better practices in the classroom.
As a co-teacher working with the general education classroom teacher, being able to plan and notice that, oh, here's where this student can benefit, and we can take the information, differentiate it so drastically, quite frankly, to higher level, to medium level, and to all the levels.
All of the different teachers that we've had in grade level groups and in interest groups have been able to come together with dedicated time to talk about our practice, to learn from each other, to ask and answer questions, and to grow and develop.
Unit exploration, Carl Anderson actually was offered to us to go see about how to do writing conferences better. Then we had unit explorations in detail with the skills, how we can use the assessment.
As an EL teacher, being able to work with my grade level and really dig deeper into the literacy and learn from experts in the field as the best practices that we can use and transfer into the classroom during workshop model with my students.
One of the highlights for me of all of the professional learning that we've done during the literacy implementation has definitely been the opportunity as a principal to attend training with CLG, with my coaches and with my cohort members, so that I'm trained just right alongside the other leaders in this implementation, and that's been very informative and very helpful in supporting it in the building.
Having the opportunity to meet on an ongoing basis with teams, with our instructional coach in the building, allowing opportunity for observation of not only one another as educators, but also observing what students are doing, what our classroom looks like. That's all been so helpful to have that available because we have experts in our building who are helping to lead the professional development.
Shifted a lot here since this implementation and training. One wonderful thing is that we are all implementing the same curriculum, which in the past we had different resources that different classrooms were using and different formats for literacy instruction. So our teams now have a guaranteed and viable curriculum that they are implementing in a similar way that they can talk about, which has been so beneficial for collaboration and for sharing our students.
Our writing and our read aloud are all coming together to work with each other instead
of. The workshop and their literacy plan allows for meeting the students where they are and then taking them to where they're going next.
Mm-hmm. And the structure we put in place really allows for teachers to have the opportunity to meet with all those students with a lot of time, and it allows them to really cater to the students where they're at.
Either in small groups or individual strategy groups.
Or even one-on-one.
Yeah.
It's just really flexible for a teacher, which is a really nice structure to have.
Working in this literacy model really allows me to be fully student-centered. Our curriculum provides a strong core with our mini lessons, but during independent reading and writing time, the students are involved in authentic reading and writing activities, while I am able to meet with small groups and confer and really meet the needs of all my students.
We're just having some really great conversations with our team members now because everyone is teaching the same unit around the same time. And so you're able to go to each other and get ideas from one another as to how to help a particular student in a better way, or share some ideas, problem solve. So it's been great to have those conversations. And then also,
And when you say, today I want to teach you, they lean in and get excited about it.
I've definitely seen a huge shift in our students ever since we started our reading and writing workshop. First of all, our community of readers are all talking about books in such exciting and exhilarating ways. There's a more community feel in the classroom. There's more partner work and conversation going on. And most of all, people are just building those lifelong habits to be readers who want to learn and learn to love reading.
Students are given more time to read, to write, and to have conversations with their partners about their thinking and their writing. They're more accountable for the work that they do, and the work that they do, they're really proud of it.
Referring and thinking about my small groups and what I'm targeting with all of my students, they're growing by leaps and bounds because they have really specific goals that are set for themselves, and they know what to work on during those independent and buddy times in the classroom.
The units of study is super engaging for them. It goes along a storyline that's tied across all 3 of those units of study.
And how they're all like interwoven, like they can see the connections between the reading and the writing and the phonics, and how we're reading one book and reading, but it helps us with our writing and writing.
Right, and sometimes they're like, which one are we doing? And are we doing phonics right now, or doing writing, reading? And I'm like, you're doing it all.
How excited the students are to show off everything that they've done. Over the last few years, I can tell that all students have worked really hard with learning in kindergarten, bringing that over to first grade, and then showing all of the skills that they've learned. They get so much pride and so much passion in their writing. They show off their creative skills, and they're extremely motivated to show their peers, to show their families, and to show their teachers.
Wasn't that so fun to see?
So cute. Oh my gosh.
Did the kids before edit it?
We're self-taught
Oh.
too. Yeah.
That was a great voice of God.
It was Batman.
There we go.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Hearing from the students and teachers. It's the best.
Certainly. Are you guys done presenting?
We are.
Yeah, ready for questions.
Thank you.
So, and I'm not sure if anybody can answer this question, and that's fair to say. I was just wondering at the kindergarten level, with the expansion of full-day kindergarten, what impact has that had on literacy? Can you tell already after not even finishing 1 year of that, of what the impact might be?
I can get it started just from my lens of visiting kindergarten rooms, and just from a feeling and an affect and a sense of comfort. There is so much breathability in our curriculum and the pacing and the feel of the classroom. Our literacy time is deep and long by design, and we actually can do what is designed, which is so beautiful. So just
Does that time, even at the kindergarten level, give you the ability to differentiate?
I think, well, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think that is the biggest thing that we hear from colleagues is they're like, I always knew I had this information and evidence of like how I wanted to meet with students and a plan, but the time always ran out. And so it really feels like they can meet with students, even like students who qualify for intervention. We can now support them within the school day. We don't have to, like, we don't have EIK anymore of somewhat like an extended day for kids, like it is in their day and it is happening. So I think that teachers just feel like I see like, I can do what I'm setting out to do now in an easier way because I have more time.
Optimistically hoping that these plant the seeds that will grow for the 8 years after kindergarten, strengthen the literacy even more than what our kids are experiencing now, and then beyond that. So that's pretty
You're not coming to the meetings
I
anymore?
thought you were coming to all the meetings.
I'm sure you will be. Wait, you've had enough of me. You know, you need 2 meetings on that.
Any other questions? James?
I just have a quick one. Jim, do you have a question? So I think one of the things that's certainly noticeable as a parent of multiple children in the district, but is kind of looking at kind of the learning model and to what extent is motivation a key driver of kind of the experience and learning, and to see it kind of cascade across not just the reading unit, the writing workshop, but to know that's going to go and extend into science and social studies. I guess, maybe this is it could be a challenge, it could be a question, but as we look at how this change in our approach for literacy translates to standardized testing and then non-standardized performance among the students, I think it's going to be one of the interesting questions that parents are going to ask, that we should kind of ask, is like, how do we continue to drive forward on that? Because the data suggests learning literacy or reading literacy by 3rd grade is a huge indicator of future success, because the word problems get introduced in math class and the science questions become harder, and you have to so to the extent that we can focus on that pre-3rd grade, but also then extend it further, like spelling, like those things are going to be really critical and important to see it develop as we continue down this journey. And if we already have data, Matt, then that's awesome. But if not, I think it's going to be an interesting thing that we follow up on as this goes.
Yeah, and definitely why we didn't necessarily use the science of reading, but one huge variable that we were highlighting tonight on the right-hand side is that active self-regulation. It is, I don't know, to me, and I think we all believe, essential. It may be the starting point and why we're really honing in and zeroing in on this particular scientific model. Without that, all those other pieces, just, yeah, in any content area. So, I guess to answer the question directly, it's incumbent upon us to keep the learning factor so engaging that children want to basically drive themselves into that self-regulation. We can't really necessarily, we can try to influence and force, but ultimately it's that learning setup that we're building for them. And as you can tell by what Erin was saying, crossing it over naturally into social studies and science and making the connections. Children will do the green when they feel connected to the content and they realize it has some meaning in their life. And when they're little, it's kind of quick and easy to make some meaning for them, but certainly, as you were saying, it gets more challenging as they become older. And we use, as Adrian was saying, in-class literature meant to be full of diversity and stories that children are going to love and learn from, and carrying that up into the middle grades is essential. So it's comprehensive, it's everything. Yeah, please.
And if I may, what I would also say is it's getting to know the child in front of you. And so as educators, we spend a lot of time conferring with students, talking with them in small groups, or just noticing what are you picking up as you're reading and how does it make you feel along the way, and saying, you know what, you're doing this really, really great, and now you're ready for it, and having that challenge along the way. And a big portion of an interactive read aloud and any of the direct explicit teaching that happens in workshop is that teacher thinking aloud. And so as children are listening to the adults thinking through that real life reading process and all the different parts that they're pulling together with regards to vocabulary and background knowledge and different strategies that they use to help them make meaning, that is an entry point for students to see, oh, this is how this all comes together. And when we're doing that in math with word problems, when we're looking at in social studies through the different types of historical pieces, but even as we're reflecting on what we're working on in writing, that gives children a model that levels the playing field, saying like, yes, you can do all of these great things, and here's one way that I have done this, and why don't you try it, and this is what you're ready for next. Erin, did you want to add? Oh, there you go.
I wanted to add on a couple things that this board has supported. One is learning spaces. That's not just about pretty classrooms. That's about students coming in and feeling motivated to understand that this space is theirs and that they know how to use it. And we could go on about how fantastic all of that is, but that's a huge part of motivation. The other piece that you've heard probably some of us talk about before, and certainly Brian as well, is the introduction of inquiry into the unit, into the district. You know, we've got curricular areas like science and social studies where inquiry is baked in, but as a district, this is a lot of work that we've done too, and that's a huge factor in motivation. So just want to make sure those two pieces are also part of it.
Thanks for connecting that.
Yep.
And I was just going to add too that, Natalie, to your point, that because we have all of these kindergarten kiddos all day long, it allows for so much motivation and excitement and all of those pieces to be built all day long. So the transfer that's occurring and is naturally embedded into science and social studies and writing and reading and phonics all day long, that time allows for continuous transfer into first, second grade, and then, you know, up into the upper grades. But it's really exciting to see, and it's so awesome, just all of this engagement, motivation, the connections they have with the teachers, the learning spaces, all of those pieces coming together is really what makes the day so amazing. And the kiddos are so excited, you know, as they come in and just collaborate, connect with one another. It's really cool to see.
Jim, did you have something?
I was wondering yet if there's been any unexpected surprises in just some of the data you collect. Like, these are all great stories and anecdotes and things, but like, I don't know what the right answer is, like NEWA scores and things like that. It was like, how will you know when all this great stuff is coming to fruition through metrics and data? Sorry, I'm the math guy. So I'm sure. Yeah.
I wish we didn't have a pandemic thing.
Yeah.
We agree.
We agree. Yeah, we agree.
Yeah. So we're still unfortunately teasing out carryover impact specific to our student analytics. This year too really being the kindergarten factor. Right now we're sort of presenting data-wise stable, but definitely we're expecting to see improvement at our means. That's going to be the biggest challenge. So way more to come. But unfortunately, you know, even though the benchmark 3 times a year,
right,
months in between, we have fall to winter. You know, again, it's fairly typical. We're coming up into spring. We're in the heat of IR. We just finished, you know, my science assessment. So we'll be swimming in data in June and have another amazing presentation if you wish this summer on student data. I'm just saying.
Wow. You like
I
presenting.
suspected it was probably a little early to like see movement in some of the data, but I just thought I wanted to ask, because at some point you'd hope that would materialize in these great things.
Informally, over the last few years since COVID, we have seen those gaps are closing every single year. I mean, the student achievement from first to second is increasing, you know, bounds. That first year when they were a little off and it was challenging because they were at home over Zoom, but since then, it really is, we're seeing a lot of student achievement and growth throughout the last few years, so it's really nice to see.
Great. Anybody? Mike, go ahead.
Anytime I hear about learning spaces, I always think about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Glenview Educational Foundation has an important component of that, and I know we've got some former chairs, current and former chairs in the room here, so I definitely want to acknowledge the GEF and their hard work in helping us to pilot these programs to get them to where they are today, because without them, it'd be really hard to be where we are today.
And I want to add on that, Mike, it wasn't just the learning spaces. Am I correct, Brian? I'm pretty sure we've done a lot of workshop work from the GEF.
Contributions to actually both presentations tonight, modern media, the podcasting, and everything this year came from a grant with the GEF. So as Mike said, a lot of the stuff that we are able to begin through the work with the GEF manifests itself into projects that are seen many years down the road and only seen because we can use that money early on.
Just a word to the team here, if you don't mind.
Can I just ask one more thing?
Yeah.
You know, I watched 60 Minutes last night, and it was all about the new AI.
Oh, yeah.
And literacy is going to be profoundly important for our children as they learn to write prompts for the new AI. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with as they go into high school. ChatGPT wrote that for me. No, I'm just-
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was produced in 20 seconds. So, just a word to all of you. I mean, your raw intellect is always on full display. I see it when you're at the district office. I see it when you're back in your buildings. What everyone may not get to see all the time is that your leaders, I mean, that's how the good stuff happens, is that we need people who can stand up and lean in and help colleagues learn and to care deeply about the work. And you do that all the time, and I appreciate that very much. And you're great humans, which is an added benefit. So thank you. And thanks for extending your day, too.
Thank you.
Sure, Maddie. Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to put into perspective the work that you're doing was not being done 8 years ago when I first joined this board. Where we have come through this kind of work is amazing and makes me feel kind of bittersweet about leaving because I want more, but I'm really glad I was along to see the trajectory thus far. So personally, I thank you as well because I see the seeds that were planted years ago growing into strong oak trees. So
Thanks.
Thank you.
We're at our second opportunity for audience comments. Kathy, do we have any audience comments? We do not. Let's move to our report section. We have the FOIA report, number 1. Number 2, construction change order report. The number 3, referendum expense report. The number 4, monthly budget report. Number 5, current financial projections. And number 6, the following meeting agenda. Are any questions on those?
I just have one quick one. Just want to make sure I'm interpreting the month-to-month change in terms of the budget shift. There's a move on the I think it's the purchase services between last month and this month, and there's like an annotation in there. It was a positive move, but I just want to make sure that.
Which report are you looking at?
So I'm looking at the current year financial projection report.
Thanks.
And I think in March, that current year had a net favorable impact of $670,000, and it looks like now we're closer to 1.2 million. A lot of it's driven by the purchase services, and there was something about True North, I think, that was budgeted in the prior month, and then it's reflected in this month's not having, so we have a surplus. Just want to make sure that I interpreted that right from the note, because we're not going to be doing the renovation and such, or not participating in that cost.
Right, it looks like they revised their plan, their capital plan. So, back that up.
And then we added $85,000 in federal funding. I just want to make sure that, like, it's move one direction month to month. I just want to make sure that I was interpreting that change correctly. Okay.
Is
It's
that
good
good?
news. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll move along to other business. John?
Okay. You know, I just wanted to bring this up, as Natalie mentioned. This is our last time here, and take a little historical perspective on things. You know, 20-odd years ago, 2 referendums went out to the village of Glenview, our District 34 specifically. One was to build the structure we're in right now, which I guess goes to show you that one passed. The one that didn't was like, how are we going to pay for all this? And so for 20 years, operations side. So for 20 years, we operated at a structural deficit. And the culmination of that 20-year period happened 3 years ago, when we had to go to the voters again to say we need, you know, somewhere between $70 and $90 million just to keep our buildings functional. And we got to that point because we never had the increase in budget, but we still had the same costs. And we're never going to tell a child they can't come to school, you know, but we need to be replacing these things. So Eric and his team are going to develop for the board, you know, how much money should we be putting in a year? And hopefully, where should we be putting that in each year? But the fact is, probably not going to be enough. You know, and all of our choices are bad, which is kind of a theme. You know, we never have good choices to make. But, you know, we need to keep an eye on this period in 20 years from now. You know, we got lucky, the referendum we just had, we didn't need a new building. That might not be the case in 20 years. We can't foresee the future. Maybe things will change to better our position through population changes or whatever, but, you know, we just can't count on that. So, you know, we have a few choices. Again, they're all bad. You know, go back to the voters, try to increase taxes. That's a winning issue in any election year. So, so that's going to be a problem. Spending the right amount on the right things, probably not going to have enough to do that. So, you know, it leaves us with our third option, which is to try and build up that surplus as much as we can in our, what am I trying to say?
Operating.
Yeah, thank you.
In our fund balance.
In our fund balance, so that we have more available. You know, we had to use a lot of the fund balance for this project because we decided to couple this, you know, recovery of the structural deficit with some improvements to the district, which were also very much needed. And it has made the district a better place. But we need to build up that fund balance so we've got the ability to do this again without having to maximize our ask should we need something bigger and better in terms of the district's needs at that time for larger projects. So, I mean, that's not really new business for next week or next month, but it probably is for every month for the next 20 years.
It could be a focus for the board.
Yeah, and I know everyone here is well aware of that, as I know our incoming board members are as well. But, you know, I think it's just something we need to keep in mind, as always.
It's always good to get the long perspective, John. You've been on the board for 8 years now, right?
It feels longer.
Mm-hmm. Well, COVID was 4 or 5 years. Natalie, the same as you, 8 years on the board. And Mike, 4 years on the board, which, you know, we're going to miss.
4 eventful years.
Yeah. But like you said, you've seen a lot of change over time, and you've also noticed what happens when the budget isn't great for us going forward. So it's something for the new board to consider as we embark on the next 4 years.
Scott, I don't know if we're going to have a chance to, whether the three of us going off will have a chance to speak at the May meeting. I don't know what the cadence is, but.
Take your time.
I do want to mention one thing here, and any of you that's involved on social media know that I've been pretty active in the last 48 hours. The Village of Glenview will be reviewing 2 new developments at the New Developments Commission in the next meeting. 255 residential housing units at Renaissance Hotel, studio apartments and single one-bedroom apartments, and a new development at the Pearson property called Oxen Free. 140 new units are proposed. In total, if you add another development that's down the road, that's a potential for 600 new housing units in District 34 in the next 4 years. So in addition to everything John said, we all have to keep our eye on the ball to understand what 600 new housing units means to this district and how we protect the investment that we've made that was approved at the referendum in 2020. I don't think we have capacity for even a fraction of the number of students I think will be coming from these developments. So lots of big things coming for the next school board and for several future school boards. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right, any other business? All right, if not, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.